in for Delts this morning. It's been a while, but we are filming back on the iPhone. Reason being, I prefer it. I'm so used to filming on the iPhone and doing content on the iPhone that switching over to the Osmo was a bit of a challenge in terms of just the change. Trying to get things off the Osmo onto the Mac, it might seem silly, but I just didn't like it. It was just taking too much time. Where I can film on the Osmo here, I can take my working sets from the footage I film here and post on Instagram. Just makes a bit more sense, just quicker to do. And when I want to be doing, video a week on YouTube, when I was doing it in the past, it was so easy. So I'm a creature of habit. I want to stick to what I know, and this is the simplest way of getting content out. So we're going to try this for the next couple of weeks. Hopefully it gets back into the routine of posting, but we'll go along with it. So delts and arms today, so just shoulder focused. Delts and arms, delts and core, just shoulder focused, and then some core to finish. One press, two laterals, one rear delt, one front raise. We're on the rear delt now, so we're going to get into this first working set. Two working sets on here, 10 to 15s. Like I've spoken about before, rep ranges have increased, so I'm going from like more 6 to 8s, which I was doing last off season, to more 8 to 12s, which I'm doing now, 10 to 15s, but using heavier load than I did last off season. So that's where I've seen the progression in my training has more so been from being stronger than I was last off season, but now in a much higher rep range, and that's where I'm seeing a lot of the progress, and being able to progress by doing that. So increasing reps throughout the whole week, on every movement pretty much. So we'll get stuck into this, follow along, and let's have a good session. Yep. Take a lateral raise. Stack is probably too light, or it is for me anyway, so jimping always comes in handy. Now this is a small one, with a small rod on it as well. This goes in the back of this machine instead of the front, because the actual machine is in the way. So we can't actually get plates on, we can't actually fit an all pin in there. So this actually goes in the back in a small little insert. Don't actually know what the small insert's for, but this goes in the back pretty snug, so it's not going to move anywhere, plates don't shift anywhere. I've just put 20 kilo on top of this and it didn't move at all, but allows you to get the most out of this movement because it's a solid movement. And this is our only kind of seated machine lateral raise in the gym, so I need to be able to stack it when jimping comes in handy. So this just goes around the back into this little insert here, pops in, and then we can put plates around the back of it instead of the front to our plate loaded hammer strength. Just 2 sets on here, top set back off, and yeah, that's it. So we'll work up to our normal top set, which is 5 and a bit, I think, aside, and then we'll drop back down to 4.5, I think. But reps have been going on here, good on here. So I was at EP Jungle last week, so had to use their over hammer strength, which is actually the first generation. I think this is the second. So the setup's slightly different. The way the pressing is slightly different. The way it moves slightly different. So I had to change the load last week. So back onto my normal numbers this week, which is nice. And let's see if we can get something out of this. We're currently in the health phase at the moment, so body weight's actually been dropping. I dropped about 2 to 3 kilo since we started the health phase, straight off the bat. Basically just water really, so. And obviously the softer look now is coming in. So we've just got to get through these kind of next 3 weeks of the health phase, and then we move up to kind of into our first on paper prep. Obviously, prep doesn't really change, to be honest, but prep to off season mindset doesn't really change. We just stay on the same course, so that's kind of us for the next 3 weeks, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. It's going to be a very different prep scenario this week for sure. Just very different from last year in terms of where we are condition-wise now and how kind of close we are to stage condition, to be honest. Obviously there's still quite a lot to pull off, but we're very much closer than we were last year. So in terms of progression there, just the whole off season has been taken much more efficiently, and yeah, been happy with it. So anyway, top set on here, and we'll see what we can do. So those are pressings done. Well, 2 sets on press. Moving to lateral raise now. 3 sets of lateral raises. So our kind of second movement for laterals. I've been doing these behind the body actually, like the ones you see Cutler doing. That's kind of where I got the idea from. Did a little different variation. It's actually much harder than doing it in front. Greater stretch on the lateral head, on just delt itself. I'm feeling much better positioning doing that instead of having it in front of me. You can get a much greater stretch, because it's pulling your arm behind you instead of in front. You can kind of allow for a lot of momentum, where this is, you're stuck for momentum on this. So 2 sets on here total, just 2 sets of 10 to 15, as you've already done laterals at the start of the session. So this is kind of just to finish off the delt, and then we go into our front raises, and that is us done for delts. So quick session, usually takes me about hour and a half, which is quick for me, and then we just go into our little ab circuit, which is good, and I'll show you that as well. Final shoulder movement on the cable. 3 sets here. Obviously at the moment we're not doing any rest pause sets, any drop sets. Solely just doing base volume, so it's literally just straight sets all around really. Because we're in this health phase, there's no point doing extra intensifiers because we just haven't really got the food there or the recovery to do that throughout the week. So strip it back to base volume, which is still pretty high, higher than I did last year. You know, still doing on some movements like accessories 3 sets, 3 working sets. That is, so that's 3 sets to failure. But yeah, front raises with the EZ bar, literally just keeping it repetition. You know, the shoulders are full, warm. It's just about getting these reps out and filling it with blood really. So that is the goal. Like I said, 2 sets in here. I think I'm just repeating myself, but 10 to 15. Apologies. And then we'll move on to our ab work as well. Abs is something that got incorporated pretty seriously after I came off stage last year. It was one of my, you know, I'm not afraid to say, but one of my biggest weaknesses was my midsection. And as we all know, that's the center of your physique. So if that's off, everything else is off. You know, you're only as good and you're only as strong as your weakest body part. So these need to come up, and that's why every other day I'll train abs. I have 1 ab circuit that I do per week, which is on this session today, which is literally a fixed circuit of 5 movements, 3 sets each, supersets. And the rest of the days I'll do vacuums every other day, and I'll do leg raises and some sort of crunch every other day after my cardio, which I think has really helped. You know, I've managed to keep a full midsection, full 6-pack, 7, whatever you want to call it, through the whole off season. Pretty detailed as well, with obliques in and everything. So I'm pretty happy about that. And obviously with that, doing that for a solid 6 months is going to bring so much more stability and strength to my core. So when I'm on stage, I'll hopefully be able to translate that into being able to keep it tight, being able to keep it in. I was able to keep it in on stage last year. It was just between poses, moving around. When you're not hitting shots, it was slightly out, or even just walking on stage, I'd be breathing out my midsection or just letting it go and just not being in control of it. That's not to say, you know, my core is a weakness in strength-wise. I think it's pretty strong in terms of that because of obviously the compound movements we do and just general work in the gym. I think everyone's core is pretty strong, but the control of it wasn't there. So that's why we've incorporated the ab work in now for the last 6 months, and you know, should, like I said, translate onto stage. So that was a big focus this year, which is why we're doing it every session, and I'll continue to do that in prep. You know, it was before where I'd do an off season without any midsection work, and then it would get to prep and I'd start training abs, which doesn't really work. You know, there needs to be some muscle built within to be able to contract. You know, I think that's maybe what I was lacking. It was strong, but the muscle wasn't developed enough for me to be able to contract it hard enough to be able to keep it tight. There was just a lack of control and contraction there. So we'll see. It's in a much better place than it was last time, so I'm feeling pretty positive about it. Finish these, and then we'll go into our ab work.